All right, guys, in this podcast, we're going to touch on some crazy things that's happening in the industry right now with some big companies. And we're also going to take your questions that you submitted on Instagram and do a Q&A at the end, so stick around.
Look, I don't want to talk. How you try and press the kid and really you was soft.
All right, guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Let's Assess podcast. Today we have me, AJ, and Marcus in the studio. We're going to go over some industry stuff, and then we're going to jump into some Q&A towards the end of it. We have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right in.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. Like always, if you can like, comment, subscribe, interact with it, we really appreciate that. We do read the comments. I'm going to get better at responding to people. Brent's pretty good about it. I'm going to work on that next week. But if you guys, we did see the comments of the audio and everything. We're trying to get better with that. We're kind of in a transitional phase, working on all that stuff, so it will get better.
Yeah, we moved the podcast, and we'll probably move the podcast again next week, and then it'll be at its final location, and we should be able to get her dialed in.
Yeah.
Before I forget, if you guys are enjoying this, like, subscribe. It means the world to us, helps us out, keep making videos. We have a YouTube video, our first of the season, coming out Thursday. So I think we're all pretty excited for that. Yeah. And another thing, I always forget to say this, and I'm not as religious about it as I should be, is posting it on Spotify, iTunes, all that. Is iTunes even the word now? Apple Music. iTunes.
Old timer.
Yeah, but anyway, it's on all the podcast platforms, all the major ones. So if you're driving or whatever, go check it out there. But let's jump right into it. So, Arctic Cat. We want to talk about Arctic Cat in general, and then because they're one of the latest ones to announce this. This was like in November. But we want to talk about industry wide. So what we know from Arctic Cat is they defunded their race teams, and it's kind of funny because we have two ex-snowcross racers sitting here.
For Arctic Cat.
Yeah, for Arctic Cat. It's not Arctic Cat, it's Arctic Cat.
Yeah.
And so what's your guys' take on it? So they defunded the race team, and the reason, obviously, the scary reason for us is, being honest, it doesn't really affect me that they're defunding their race team, but it's kind of scary because they're going through a transitional thing with not being able to sell enough mountain sleds is the way I take it.
Yeah, I think trail sleds, mountain sleds, like just their entire lineup across the board, because I think majority of their sales is still in the Midwest with their trail sleds and stuff like that. But how that affects us as mountain riders, I think, is what's scary, in our industry and where we're at. If we lose one of those major companies, such as Arctic Cat, Ski-Doo, Polaris, then I think it puts it pretty stale for the other ones. They only have each other to go against, really, which we need that third party in there. We're already losing Yamaha. Yamaha's gone. This is their last year.
So before I forget to say that was something that was interesting when I was looking this stuff up a little bit, because I just kind of want to see what was going on. A lot of people think that the reason Arctic Cat is having these problems is because Yamaha is pulling away.
Really? Wow.
They think that Yamaha was funding most of this stuff, and which would be weird if they're funding it and then Arctic Cat gets a new chassis and Yamaha doesn't. But I guess at the end of the day, they pulled out. So that could be the case.
It very well could be. I mean, it kind of makes sense on a level of, like, I'm sure, there was many times prior years where there was like trades of, okay, we'll trade you our chassis of our snowmobile for your 4-stroke engine. Lots of trades happened for the 4-stroke engine that Yamaha had. But I've never heard of, I'm sure they were compensated fairly for it, but I can't imagine it was like that whole process is what funded Arctic Cat. Arctic Cat is and was huge in the Midwest. Like, if you saw a snowmobile in the ditch or on the side of the road in Minnesota, or Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, like any of those places, it was probably an Arctic Cat.
And it still is.
Yeah, and it still is. Like, those guys live and die by Arctic Cat and bleed green. And
that's what's so weird is, like, here, it's like an afterthought.
Yeah, and I think that's what's more crazy to me is, like, even like when I went to that Michigan snow show this year, it was a lot of questions of people that ride Arctic Cats, which we're not used to out here. We're fielding more questions of Ski-Doo, Polaris, etc.
Yeah.
But they dominate that market out there for sure. And all those people bought the new Catalyst 600 last year. They were stoked on that for the trail sled. And then now the 858, they're a little more tentative, but a lot of them did get the 858 trail sled, I think. And then, there was what blows my mind is the 858 was such a pinnacle moment for Artie Cat. And if they're having financial troubles after they've all been produced and out to the dealers, and, Artie Cat should have their check from the dealers or the people, through Snow Check, whatever. Once they're left the factory and at dealers, they should be paid for it. And if they're still having financial trouble now, like the second year of a chassis, there's not going to be that hype, Yeah. So that's what's concerning, I think, is if they're in financial trouble now, what's it going to be next year?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. The other thing, too, is if you think about it, maybe they didn't get all that money yet before they decided to, defund the race department.
Well, and it's more than just defunding the race department, because that just happened like from the time we're shooting this.
I think.
No, that happened like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was 8 days before the first snowcross race. So it would have been like early December, like December 5th.
I think
6th.
the note that hit the dealers was like November something.
Okay, so that was that they're shutting down the Thief River Snowmobile location.
Yeah, so that there was a I think it was on Snowgrower that I was just reading through, and they shut down their UTV production too.
Wow.
And they were asked about that at Heydays, I guess, and they were saying that like there's enough inventory on dealers' floors and all that
to
stuff.
last to like through 2026. Yeah.
Right. So the next ones will be 2026. But I'll tell you what, Artie Cat, I'm not dogging on Artie Cat, Polaris, Ski-Doo, all of them are in the same, not as bad maybe.
Yep.
But dude, it's scary because here's my 2 cents on it. Okay. You're coming off a year where there's no snow. Especially from Midwest, from what I hear, there was nothing out there.
None.
That's what I heard at Heydays over and over again.
Like not exaggerating it, like none.
Yeah.
Like not even, oh yeah, we got out once. Like no, none.
It barely got cold enough to go ice fishing for all them people back home.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then it's like you talk to the dealers here and you guys busy? Well, not really until the first snow flies. And then everyone's like, if you're not a diehard and you think about it all year, it's like once the snow flies, then it's go time.
Then
Then
the
people
hype
buy
begins.
stuff,
Yep.
sleds or whatever. And I think you're coming off of a bad snow year, okay? And we have sleds now that are $20,000. I mean, Artie Cat's
Plus.
out the door, if you get the top of the line, is 20 and some change.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like
For an NA.
that's what I was gonna say, for an NA. And then you have the fact that it's not a proven chassis yet. And you have the fact that there's Artie Cat diehards. You have to admit, they're kind of behind Polaris and Ski-Doo. Like considerably behind.
Yeah.
And especially until they released the 858, they were way behind. Or the Catalyst chassis, I guess you could say.
Yep.
But and then you have the economy, you have interest rates, there's so many things, and that's what I kind of want to talk about too. Starting with Artie Cat being the main one that a lot of people heard about. Facebook was going nuts. Oh my gosh.
Well, that note that I want to dip on that real quick. That note that you're talking about that was in November. Like that stated like that they were laying off 60 employees in the entire Thief River Falls location. That's like engineering. There is no production. There's no testing and development going on. Like they are shut down until January. Like it's almost month and a half of that they're shut down. And we know some of those people directly, and they don't
Didn't
have a job
Polaris do the
currently.
same thing? They cut their production.
I think
I don't think they shut it down.
they cut their production, but they didn't shut it down. But that's what's crazy with Artie Cat is like if these dealers needs parts or anything like that, there's nobody there to call to get these parts shipped out.
And that's what they were saying. They were saying the customer representatives would still be there and all this stuff, but who really knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have an Artie Cat.
I don't either. And I'm sure there's enough parts. We don't have enough snow out here to be really banging rocks yet. That's exactly what we're doing, is banging rocks. But
I was going to say this is a perfect time.
So, I'm sure there's, at some point there's going to be the A-arm shortage, or if they start, we've seen some things with like valve failure and some different things with them. It's like I'm sure the dealers can fix some of these issues, but I'm sure they need some of that factory support, and it's not there right now.
Dude, they have like all these companies, even from the small guys up to the, manufacturers. There's a perfect storm that is brewed that is making it hard to do business right now.
Oh yeah.
As snowmobile companies, like last winter and all that stuff. And I mean, even this winter, it's early still. What is it, like mid-December?
Yeah.
I don't really consider it off trail riding until like the end of December, early January. That's me. But it's still way behind. Like the snow this year's way behind. It's way behind everywhere from what I see.
Yep.
And so it's like
nowhere in the lower 48 really has snow.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Slays.
Yeah. But that's like, it's just piling up.
Yeah.
And
No, it is. It's a perfect storm for, the snowmobile failure, really. The entire industry revolves on snow. And when we don't get snow 1 year, okay, we might make it, but 2 years, oof, that's
Especially after COVID.
yeah.
Kind of seems
especially-
like we're in a recession right now. Not the time, but like the money side of it.
It's COVID. You have higher interest rates. You have low snowmobile people that can spend money on it.
Yeah. With no snow.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and what's kind of crazy is like, we kind of talked about overproducing, and we especially are feeling this in Colorado with a dealership that is taking so many snowmobiles, and they're, 2 years old, and they're dumping them at such a low price. Not only has it tanked our resale value on our used stuff, but a new sled is, it's brought that purchase value down on new sleds, new non-current sleds, but the new sleds, their prices are still at the moon, and nobody's buying those. So then, like, it's like they overproduced. Both Ski-Doo and Polaris seem like they overproduced, and now it's just going to be this chain effect of, okay, next year you're going to be able to pick up leftover 25s because nobody's buying 25s because they're still buying 24 and 23s at a cheaper rate because that's what they can afford. Where, you go buy a 25 right now, you're kind of almost a fool when in March it's going to be $5,000 cheaper.
Yeah. Well, and the resale thing is a huge thing because if you go to sell your sled, instead of it being a $2,000 swing, like, I remember, I swear, it was $500 swing when the Matrix came out on Chaos Boost. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, especially for the aftermarket, well, it's the same for stock and aftermarket. It's like you're going to lose so much money on that thing. And then, it's like I saw a guy on Facebook posting, it's like, okay, you lose a bunch if you sell it with all the aftermarket stuff, because then you're going to have to buy new aftermarket stuff. But if you don't keep the aftermarket stuff on it, then you're really going to take it in the shorts. I think speaking for me, the resale value is what made me not buy a new sled this year.
For sure. Yeah.
It's like I didn't need a new sled. I had a sled with 200 miles on it. But this is the first year in 4 or 5 years that I haven't bought a new sled every year.
Yeah. Well, what's your situation with your red one from last year?
Yeah, there's 1,200 miles on it. I got $5,000 stuck into that thing. I don't want to dump it for 10,000.
Yeah.
I want to keep all the parts off of it, but it probably doesn't. It doesn't pay to.
Yeah, it doesn't pencil.
Yeah.
No, and if you didn't have the business, I don't know. I guess I'm speaking for you, but maybe you wouldn't have bought the one that you bought. You would have just
probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, you would have just rode the one from last year because you got the same thing,
identical.
Yeah, so and you're seeing it trickle down with aftermarket.
Oh yeah,
with gear, dude, it's just okay. Here's a question for you guys. What do you think is the best option? Because I hear this all the time in the auto industry. Do you make a quote cheaper product that doesn't have, realistically, it's not going to be as good as the expensive product? Do you take that route of just being cheaper, but not the best? Or do you fight to be the best, but then you're expensive?
Well, I think we have a real dilemma because we have BRP and Polaris really at the head front of this, like making the best product. They're the ones pushing it with the turbos and, pumping power to them and everything.
And the gauges.
And the
marketing.
And, the marketing, everything. And the problem is what they're claiming versus what they're selling, I think is like the major problem. Like when I go to resell my Polaris, it's like, how do I talk highly of like, oh my goodness, this was the most amazing snowmobile. It is definitely worth $15,000. It's like, well, I feel bad selling it to somebody for $15,000 because this thing is a pile.
Yeah.
And then, well, but if you buy this 2024, that's a pile confirmed, or do you go buy a 2025 that sounds like they're piles as well?
Yeah.
Like what's, you don't have a good option, right? Like there's not a good option.
But do you, like, getting back to like the question, what
Yeah.
would you do if you owned a manufacturer? Like, for example, I hear this all the time with trucks. I don't know why somebody doesn't just make a cheaper truck that doesn't have any of the technology on it. It's just an engine and cloth and no electronics, no sound system, everything. Would you, like, what I'm asking is, if you were Arctic Cat, would you think about taking that route? Would you say, like, look, our product is not up to Ski-Doo and Polaris. It's not. We know that.
Yep.
But we're $8,000 cheaper. And it runs.
It's not a bad idea. It's a good, it is a very good idea. Like, and I think that's something they tried playing on with the 600. I mean, when they put the 600 in the Catalyst, they're like, this is an affordable snowmobile. We're going to get it to you for this. Was it 14,000?
I think 16.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it was 16.
Okay, 16,000 for a brand new sled. And I mean, okay, yeah, it's a 600, but it
Yeah, but
wasn't
you could buy a
bad
Polaris 850 for 16.
for 16. Yeah, I thought it was cheaper, I guess.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, if they were like, you know what, we're done with the R&D,
yeah,
and there's a lot of ramifications that'll come from
doing that.
this. But dude, you read these forums. I mean, these people are crazy, but they're right.
Yeah.
They're right. It's like, I can't afford a $20,000 snowmobile. And it's like we were talking the other night. There's not a lot of like, this isn't like we're selling high-end sports cars to rich people. Like most snowmobilers are like blue collar dudes that don't have that. By the time you buy that and a truck and a trailer and gas, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So everyone's saying like, I don't want the gauge. I don't want any of this stuff. I want something cheaper that's reliable. I mean, you wonder if Arctic Cat was just better to like say, we're going to keep the Ascender chassis. We're not going to try to spend millions of dollars in R&D, and we're just going to put this out, and we're going to get it $8,000 or whatever it is cheaper. You wonder if they would sell more sleds that way.
There had to be a reason they brought up a new chassis, though, right?
Yeah.
They were obviously failing at that Proclimb chassis.
But what if they just said, we're done marketing or doing R&D, and we're going to put all that money into just, instead of saying it takes us selling a sled at retail for, you know, $17,000 to make any money, and they cut all their expenses back where they can make money at 12,
Right.
where they're not putting all that money in. But I mean, I'm with you. I think a lot of these people, the difference is everyone says that, but when it gets right down to it, they want what the
the
pros
best
are on.
And that's, I think at the end of the day, like, okay, it'd be awesome to have a cheap snowmobile for an entry level. I think it would be great for the sport. But I think all the manufacturers need to have that cheap entry level sled, which they kind of do. They kind of do, because not everybody needs a turbo. Not everybody needs, you know, even an 850 really. The 600 will work. But the problem is like, for people like us, we're still going to want that pushing leading edge stuff. But like we don't get the big gauge or anything like that. We get the standard gauge. I mean, you can kind of outfit them a little bit cheaper. That saved us $1,000 there, just going to the little gauge. So you can kind of outfit them and build them to a cheaper point if that's something you want to do. But yeah, I think you'd be shooting yourself in the foot if you offered just a cheap, like, okay, we're cutting development. We're only going to have this model. It's going to be $12,000. But then in 7 years, it's going to be like, okay, we're riding a hovercraft over here or an Ascender chassis. Like,
But what if that hovercraft's $40,000?
right now it's headed that way.
But that's, you know what I mean? It's like, but what I was saying too is like with the truck thing, and I've told you about this, everyone's like, I don't want all the technology. I just want like the main, or like, you know, just a diesel truck that'll pull. Okay. Then they come in and they want, well, I like the grill on that one.
Yeah,
I like the screens. I like, okay,
With
well,
the heated seat.
yeah,
Yeah.
then that one's going to be $90,000. If you want all that stuff, that's what it costs. Well, don't they make a cheaper one? Yeah, they do, but you want all the stuff on it,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think that's a hard question. It's a good question, but it's a hard question. I just don't think you could go down that rabbit hole. I think they have that option, but nobody buys it as it is. Like the in-season Edge model, like our 850 Ski-Doo that we put in the fleet this year, that's a base model in-season 850. And I mean, looking at it in the shop, it is an awesome snowmobile. An awesome snowmobile. It doesn't have any of the refinements. Like it doesn't have the adjustable brake lever and things like that. So like we changed some of that stuff on it, but it's like you can do those changes really affordably. And we got into it, super cheap. Like that's a very affordable snowmobile. I mean, I saw 24 850 in-season model Edges for like $12,000.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a leftover 24, but it's brand new. But it's still like for $12,000 you can get on a brand new 850. Like that's an awesome snowmobile for that price.
Yeah.
Awesome snowmobile. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's those good deals out there on new ones, and yet people still will go after the more expensive one. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, people say that they want the cheaper one, but it's like we're saying, I mean, it doesn't really seem like people buy the cheaper one.
Yeah. I know a guy that ordered a 9R or ordered an 850 brand new, and then they sold them on a, leftover 9R because it was the same price as the brand new 850. And it's like, yeah, they just upsold you.
Yeah.
That's what they did. Now the next time you come in to order, you think you're going to order an 850?
Nope. Yeah.
See you in March.
Yep. So hopefully all these snowmobile businesses pull out of this because, and I think with the rates going down and stuff like that, it'll help a lot. Ski-Doo's doing 0%, I think.
Yeah, I saw 0%, and they got the in-season turbo model, which to me is just a scream of we built too many snow checks, or we need to sell this many, so we built this many. And well, here's an in-season model.
Yeah.
Here's the price. Here it comes with a gas caddy. Oh, we're incentivizing it 0%, which really grinds my gears.
Yeah, we got into that the other night. It's like your loyal people that snow checked get a worse deal than the people that
randomly.
Yeah, they waited a couple months longer.
Yeah.
If that even. I mean, we've only put 30 miles on ours.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I could go down to the dealership and pick up a brand new one right now for cheaper and 0% financing.
Yeah.
Should probably go down and buy one. Smart.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what else? You guys have anything, or you want to dive into Q&A?
I want to kind of talk a little bit about the Catalyst a little bit, what we've kind of seen, and then we can dive right into the Q&A. But like, we kind of looked into some stuff about it, like some of the issues. It sounds like they're having some issues with them, which we can say like Polaris, we've already seen 25s having issues there. I haven't seen a ton on the Ski-Doos yet having issues. I'm sure there is.
They're just that good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not just full swinging their way, but I'm sure there's issues there. But I've seen some 25 Polarises already having issues. Seen quite a few Catalysts having issues already. And then just the grumblings of what we've heard about the development of the Catalyst. Like they left like 5 horsepower on the table with the airbox because they had an engineer that was like developing the airbox, and then they fired him and then hired a new engineer. And then the new engineer came in to take off where the other one had left it. And I mean, things just got rushed for production, and they left a lot of stuff on the table with that 858. So for the loyal Arctic Cat people, where it's like, well, I'll buy the Arctic Cat because it's a proven good, tough machine. I'm kind of on the fence now of like, I feel like they pushed it out almost like Polaris does, like they rushed it 6 years behind, it feels like.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but they still rushed it.
Yeah.
So,
but at the end of the day, dude, there's going to be problems, and
there will.
When you change chassis, there's going to be a few.
Every
issues.
first year sled has them issues.
Yeah.
Yep. No, and that's
but some manufacturers, I'm not going to say who, seem like year after year after year they keep the same problems. They don't fix it.
Polaris.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah. No, and that's, I mean, I've seen some people with the Arctic Cats that have gotten good ones and some bad ones, but it is just interesting that they've had so much turnover right there. And then you see them like laying off more people. So it's like, oh, your good engineers are not going to stay. Like, why would a good engineer stay there if they're going to lay you off for, 60 days every year? Like that's a hard thing to stay in a company for, I think.
Yeah.
So
When
a
there's
little worrisome.
financial turmoil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Shall we?
you want to jump into the Q&A?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's talk. Hopefully we can get through all of these. If we don't get through all of them, we will try to get through
Sorry,
all
I should
these.
probably be talking while you're trying to do this.
No, it's okay.
But no, thank you guys for throwing in these questions at Brent. We'll be doing this. We're going to try to do this more, maybe even almost every podcast. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and DM those to Cook Bros on Instagram, or, it'll be on the story probably once a week at least.
Yeah, we
asking.
put them on the story, and then you just put it into the chat box, and it works pretty slick. So don't be shy. I don't know whether to say who asked these questions.
I don't think so.
You don't want to?
No, I mean, it's up to you, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. I'll just go down the line. Hopefully we get through all of them. If we don't, we'll continue them.
Yeah,
on
and we're
the
going to
next
be doing
podcast.
this on all the podcasts. So if there's one that we don't get to tonight, then we will get answered on the next one, and then we'll just keep working down the list.
Okay. How long have you and your brother been snowmobiling? So I'm guessing they're talking about me and Brad. Because it was
We're not actually brothers. I don't know
yeah.
if you guys knew that, but
Yeah.
none of us are related.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do this quick because I want something that we can all talk about.
Yeah.
So we got to ride snowmobiles once a year from the time we were probably 5 until 10. And I begged my dad so much to get us snowmobiles that he finally got annoyed, which I'm pretty good at. And he bought 2 Ski-Doo Tundras, which is probably the best sled on the market. Just saying. And so we've been riding basically since we've been 10. And then really we were kind of just riding the trail and trying to dip off a little bit. Once we turned I would say 2016, we started really trying to figure out mountain riding. That's what I'd say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever that is, 9 years. Almost 9 years.
Almost 9 years. But,
Wow, that time's gone by.
Yep.
Okay, let's find one for everyone. Are you my dad? Hopefully not. Okay. This one we can all answer. Which do you prefer, Lynx Shredder or Ski-Doo Expert? You guys go first, and then I'll put my spin on it.
Okay. You want to go for it?
I'm gonna go to the right. I like the Expert a little better than the Shredder. It just feels a little bit more nimble. The Lynx to me feels really bulky up front. The rear suspension's good, but I don't like something up front.
Okay.
Ski-Doo,
Is
I
the
think
Lynx,
top tier.
I should know this, is the Lynx, well, yeah, because the Lynx that we're riding is an RE, so it's like the free ride, so maybe it's a wider front end.
I think they're all wider.
They all.
Don't
yeah.
quote me on that, but they might be. I don't know.
They all have that.
Is that what you
I
think
think
it
so.
is, all, or is it like a plastic thing?
It's, a plastic thing and the ski stands probably.
Okay.
But the plastic just seems like more of a bowling ball to me than a Ski-Doo does.
I would like to measure that because they almost look, if you take the hood off, the side panels look almost identical. They might be identical.
It could be. I don't know. I
Maybe
just have
they
something
aren't.
that
I don't know.
I don't like about them up front.
Okay.
And it's heavier, right?
And it's heavier. I think it's like 35 pounds heavier or something odd like that.
Huh. So, I mean, obviously, with my one ride on my Expert, I am over the moon about it. So, I'm an Expert person for sure. Obviously, I am because that's what I ordered. I think they made a huge improvement for 25 with the shocks on the 25 Expert. So, I like the suspension on it so far. I really liked what they did with the suspension, but I also think the suspension on the Lynx is probably better for those spring day heavy hits. But that's where that chassis just in general, the BRP chassis struggles is in the spring days. And I just don't know if it's not the sled for me. I'm definitely the Expert guy. I had a major problem with their boat anchor of skis up there too. They were so wide and just bulky almost. I didn't like the skis, which I haven't rode an Expert or a Shredder a ton, but it just, I don't know, it didn't fit the bill for me.
Okay. So here's what I'll say. I haven't spent a whole bunch of time on an Expert, but I've spent a lot of time on a Shredder RE, which again is like their freestyle model or free ride model. Sorry. I
Doing
would say,
backflips.
yeah, I mean, I was Andreas. Come on. But I like it better. And I haven't spent a whole bunch of time on the Expert. I'd like to try yours.
Yeah.
But
You will.
yeah, I'm with you. The front end feels a little wider. The skis suck. That's why I put Polaris skis on it. That fixed a lot.
I believe it.
And I just like the rear suspension so much better.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, I think a Polaris like with aftermarket decked out is way better than a Ski-Doo, performance wise. If you take the reliability out of it, would you guys agree or no? Or do you prefer do you actually prefer the Ski-Doo chassis, or do you just prefer the reliability of it?
Reliability, 100%.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement, right?
Yeah.
You would agree? So my thing is like if a Polaris is modded, it has suspension, and it has all that stuff, I think it's the best. Okay, but if you're not gonna mod a snowmobile, which I just don't think Ski-Doo guys, obviously not you guys, but like most Ski-Doo guys just don't seem to be into changing things as much as Polaris guys. And you can say, oh, because they don't need to, whatever. I just feel like even their pros don't change as much as like the Polaris pros.
There's just not a lot out there.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the biggest thing is like Barant has pushed the industry so much on the Polaris side of like development and aftermarket stuff even. And not just Barant, but many people have just pushed the Polaris that way. And the Polaris is so much easier to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's easy to make those changes. Where the Ski-Doo, it's a lot more difficult to make the changes, a lot more difficult to produce parts, so on and so forth. I just think people stay away from it.
Yeah. But my point with that is if you, and again, I haven't rode the new suspension on the Expert, but I feel like if I bought an Expert, I would have to put suspension on it from the ones I've rode in the past.
Yep.
I don't know about now. The Lynx, no need. Like that Lynx the suspension is incredible. I love that suspension.
Yeah. I do got to say, the 146 Lynx of Brad's, when you're ripping it down the trail, that is a fun sled on the trail. Like a 146 turbo Lynx on the trail is a riot. Like it soaks the bumps up. You can jump the bumps. Like it's a fun trail sled.
It's a riot
for a mountain.
Yeah. And dude, the Lynx, and I'm sure the Ski-Doo, like they are fun sleds in my opinion. Like I could almost argue that they're a little more fun than a Polaris
because they run.
Yeah, well, they run, but like taking reliability out of it, they just are like, they seem lighter in the front end.
Yeah.
Like they want to come up out of snow. That's why I don't like them though. For certain situations.
Yeah, they bob for sure.
Yeah.
But that is the cool thing about it is like when you get on the throttle of a BRP, Lynx or Ski-Doo, the front end comes up. When you get on the throttle on a Polaris, it's more planted and drive forward.
Unless you're on a intercooled 146, those skis
no
will
drive.
come up. Yeah.
The one thing I've noticed between like Ski-Doo and Polaris, both boost, Ski-Doo is a lot more like it's gradual power, where Polaris is just rip your arms off.
Yeah.
At the
Lag
top.
and then rip your arms off at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the motor package on Ski-Doo.
Yeah.
Hands down.
It's incredible.
I mean, I love it all in general. I think they're hideous, and I don't like them in steep stuff, but I don't hate on Ski-Doo.
We'll see you on one next year.
I hate on your guys' Ski-Doo. Okay, important gear that everyone forgets. What do you think?
Man, it's kind of funny, but I think a lot of people forget like their extra gloves or their extra goggles. Just the simple stuff. Like they'll probably have all the main stuff, but they'll forget that. Or if you're like me, I have these weird days where I'll forget my boots or my helmet.
Good thing we carry a bunch of extras in the trailer.
Yeah.
One day I wore like 12s or 13s, and I wear a size 9 normally because, well, I don't know what my boots with.
No, the truth is you were trying to be Durant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, didn't want to be post holing.
Yeah.
Like a moose.
Like a caribou.
Yeah.
What do you what's yours?
What was the question again?
Important gear that everyone forgets.
Probably a stocking cap. Like guiding, I think a lot of people forget a stocking cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that you want up there. I mean, you don't necessarily need it, but it's nice to have.
Yeah.
That,
I like
and
that.
extra dry gloves for the ride back home. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say something gear wise that people forget, and this is just my personal preference. I like having something to guard my chest from hitting bars.
Gotcha.
I like having stuff on, pads on my knees too for boards and stuff like that. I just prefer it. A lot of people don't do that. It's a preference thing. The other thing that I would say, this is more gadget than gear,
Yeah.
a Garmin InReach.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because you can get out of a real terrible situation if you have one of those.
Yep. And I think for an important thing that people forget is just recharging or having fully charged stuff when they go out.
Beacons, dude.
Yeah, beacons, backpacks, heated goggles, maybe your siphon, your Garmin InReach, your phone,
A lighter,
like
like all the stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff's so important. But I mean, I think making sure that you have everything charged when you go out is something that gets put on the back burner. A lot of people are last minute. Oh, I'll go ride today, and it's like, oh, well, my backpack's dead. I throw 2 new batteries in it, whatever, and go. Or my phone is at 50% because I was out partying all night. Like, I think it's just important to have everything fully charged when you head out.
Yeah,
We're
I'd
in
agree.
such a tech world now.
Yeah, we could go on and on about that. That one, I'll answer that one here in a second. Okay, what's your all-time favorite ride/location so far, and why?
I'm going to go with North Route in Route County. That's like
In Colorado.
In
if you're not-
Colorado, yep. It's outside of Steamboat Springs, north of Steamboat Springs. There's just a various amount of terrain. There's different trailheads. I mean, you can really encounter anything, but there's some zones in there that I just think are heaven. I absolutely love it up there.
It's your style.
It's just my style. Like, it fits me well. I like it. I like having the roadhouse there to go have dinner. I don't know. It's just an enjoyable, a pleasurable experience for me to go up there.
I'm going to go with Island Park area, West Yellowstone area. A lot of steep stuff, some good trees to ride in. Long trail rides, though, so, I mean, you got to make it worth it.
Did you go above tree line there? Is there above tree line in Island Park?
A couple areas. I mean, it's not that tall, but there's some spots you can get above and look over all of them.
Why do you like it better than around here?
Longer pulls. Like,
Yeah.
we ride from 8 to 10, or we pull 2,000 feet. It seems like you're riding 3 miles to get up the hill out there. So that's one of the reasons.
I've never been. We should go.
I think we should go this year.
Yeah. Who's your favorite cousin?
No, you got to answer your
You
favorite
are
place.
Shauna. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't just
Yeah.
make us blow it out.
My favorite place. Okay, one of my favorite days was on Buff Pass. I hate the parking lot. How should I put this socially correctly? I don't really like the skiers. But
Powder cats.
yeah, but it's a lot of fun, I think. I like that terrain. There's a lot of big rocks, which right now suck, but when there's a bunch of snow, there's a lot of like cliff drops and cool features to do like aired out re-entries on. The thing I hate about it, there's a lot of people that go up there.
It is busy. It is busy.
But that was one of my favorite days. I think, dude, I don't know. My favorite places, I like Hans Peak.
Yeah.
I like Hans Peak, which is similar to
Same place, pretty much. Yeah.
But that's where I like started snowmobiling, and there's a lot. I like that you can go to Cali Park, which is a huge open area if you feel like doing that. Or you can ride trees, or you can, there's everything.
Yep.
And I love the Roadhouse. Little boogie and a brew.
There you go.
Okay, next question. How can I grow my content page?
Man, I think The biggest thing I would say is just posting consistently, and then just trying to get more relatable content with the people that you want to be sharing with, the audience you want to be speaking to. So finding your audience, speaking directly to them, posting exactly what they want to see. But the biggest thing is just posting regularly and frequently. I mean, every day is best, if not multiple times a day. But, I do every other day pretty often, and it works out just fine. I've been seeing great growth that way, but I'm also like, I found my niche of like speaking to my exact audience, it feels like. And that's when I've really started growing.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know if there's a better, faster way to grow other than, bite the bullet and do it. It's hard.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
in my
enjoy
opinion.
it.
Like you have to do it because you enjoy it and you want to share like what you do, not because you're trying to get a bunch of followers overnight, because unless you're a celebrity, that's really hard to do. Something that I would recommend is just, I think the people that grow with content are the people that really like doing it and they have like a strong passion for it. And I remember telling AJ this when he started, because I started a little bit before he did. This was a thing that I told him that I feel like it made sense to you. Maybe it didn't. But if you have, we're hunters, okay? The analogy is hunting. If I gave you like one bullet and you had to close your eyes and shoot the elk and you had no idea where it was, you would never hit it. But if I gave you unlimited bullets and that elk wasn't moving, you'd eventually hit it. And my point is like, the more content you put out, the more you're going to figure out how certain kinds of content does. And I don't know if that analogy makes any sense. It makes sense in my head.
It does, because I did that. Like, we had that conversation, and then I just like, okay, this week I'm going to post 2 times a day for 7 days straight and see. I'm going to just post a variety of different things and see what comes back from it. You kind of have this test subject.
Yeah.
One, I learned they really don't care. They just wanted to see snowmobile content. And it was like 60 followers because I was just throwing so much out there. Like, it was like immediate gratification of like boom, boom, boom followers, because I was throwing so much out there. It was hitting somebody that liked it or wanted to see it. But you're 100% right. It's like that shotgun effect. You throw so much out there, something's going to stick. But then what I noticed when I did that was, okay, people don't so much care when I see a bow tie. There needs to be some sort of element to engage them with it. Okay, if I put some writing on the clip, that got great engagement. Oh, if there's something like banter or, something funny in the clip, that gotten good engagement.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, just a clip with a music, everybody can do that. And it was just like, that was the everybody experience that I had. Was it got so many likes, no follows, just normal, right? It was when you put that little extra effort into the video and made it, and not like making it a sweet edit, like just extra thought process into what the person viewing it would want to see. And that's when I realized, okay, this is the avenue that I need to take social media.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I started growing when I kind of figured out what people wanted to see. And what else would I say? What else other advice would I give? I think just working, it depends what, path you want to go down. That's up to the creator. Like, do you want it to be talking head videos of you talking about snowmobiling, and maybe you're like the person that gives gear reviews and people like that? Or are you like a cinematic, like you take a lot of time to edit and work with cameras and stuff like that? That's a different route. There's a million different routes you can take, and they all can yield a great result. It's just up to you. But I think, like, for me, I wanted to do like when we started, it was like showing people what we did. So I wanted to make it cinematic, and like being inspired by the art of flight and all that stuff. That's what I wanted to do.
Your passion shows through.
Yeah. And so it was like this thing of getting better with the camera, getting better editing, it's a growth process. And if you don't enjoy the process, it sounds so motivational and cliche, but if you don't enjoy the process, don't start.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't enjoy going out there and trying to get clips and figuring camera stuff out and figure editing out. If you don't enjoy that, just don't even try, because in the snowmobile world, it can take quite a long time, unless you're just an insane rider.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, next. Hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, just leave it in the comments. We can cover that again.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Take 2.
We can both do this. What is your 6 to 12 month goal with your brand? So for those of you who don't know, my brand is Blackbird. We have some merch online, and, plan is to grow that. And then AJ and Marcus's brand is Powderbound. So why don't you guys take it, and then I'll go after.
So this is kind of our first full winter in business. So last year when we finished our kind of half season, we kind of ran our numbers, saw where we were at. That's what got us to plan for this winter, and where we decided sleds, gear, etc. So the goal was, 12 months from that point to be sitting at double what we did the year before. As far as that goes, personally, it's, we added another snowmobile, we added some more gear, so on and so forth. So we added to the business, but felt like that, we can meet double the clients. We didn't meet our potential the first year. So we want to try to meet our potential with what we have this year, as far as snowmobiles, gear, etc. If we can meet that potential, that's when we can maybe increase the amount of snowmobiles, gear, stuff like that. And then that would be, this would be a 24-month out goal then, but 6 months from now probably would be okay, we're gearing up to have, a fleet of 10 to 12 snowmobiles. And then that would be kind of our cap point. A couple of those we'd be able to have on the side to where we didn't need them in the fleet every day. But then that's enough to where Marcus has a group every day, I have a group every day, and we have tail guides behind us. And that would be our ideal situation.
What do you think from a branding point of view? What do you think you're known as now, and what do you think you want to be known as in the next 6 to 12 months?
It's a great question. I think we both can answer this in our own ways.
Yeah.
I personally want to transfer from this polished image of not a very good rider to more funny entertainment. My skill level, I don't see capping out much more higher than where I'm at now. I'll master some more things and things like that, but I'm not going to be doing backflips. I'm not going to take backcountry riding to the absolute next level, but I do want to provide more of an entertainment value, more, a more sustainable route as I get older, and, have more fun with people when they're here than so much of a, wow, I'm riding with the absolute best.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think for a branding point, as Powderbound, we could be more clinic based, because it seems kind of right now we're just, let's go ride and we'll teach you along the way. Mm-hmm. We're not going to put you in a situation where you don't want to be and then teach you a way out of it. So I think, more clinic based, and do some drills and really pound it into people's heads on what they need to do to become a better rider.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that's something that we've seen a lot with questions from this year. Just we're in so much learning with getting the business going that is what's been the biggest ask thing is okay, what can you do clinic wise? What can you teach? What can you guys, bring to the table for this? Which we have a lot to offer there. It's just more of, okay, we need to bring that to the public as, okay, we're going to have some clinic dates. We're going to have some, more specific teaching. But then as far as our guiding goes, we want to make it more, clinic based, like Marcus is saying. Well, you're going to come out of there with a lot more value than just a normal guiding company.
And I think being two of us with completely different riding styles, we've got a lot to put on the table for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And it's what's awesome with both of us being there is if you aren't meshing with Marcus, you might mesh with me, or you aren't meshing with me, you might mesh with Marcus, Yeah.
So. Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting that you said that. What do you feel like your difference in riding styles are? Elaborate on that. Because, obviously I agree everyone has their own style, but, what would you say is, your difference?
I think AJ is a little more conservative.
Yep.
If you want to put it that way.
like precise.
Or a little smarter than I am, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my take on it. I'm
Yeah.
kind of dumb when I get out there and get a throttle in my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I'm pretty risk adverse of like if I see a really steep side hill and there's a bunch of trees below me, I'm like, I don't need to go up there and do anything on that really. And Marcus, he just look and he's just up there already. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, now he's doing a flip on it or whatever, you know? It's
There's
like,
only one way to get better.
yeah.
Yeah.
My dad always taught me pain and money. Two ways to learn.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you're just definitely a lot more aggressive, a lot more like willing, and I'm just more reserved for sure.
Yeah.
We all still fail though.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
Me. I'll show you how to bend a link steering post if you want to check that out.
Pretty sweet jump though.
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk about mine. There's not a whole bunch to talk about with mine because I'm not. I mean, I guess there is. So with me, basically, what Blackbird is right now is it's a merch brand that I would like to grow into something more than a merch brand. Even down the line of like, you know, maybe Blackbird Media where we can do like, we can have a team that does filming of content for people. We could do like our own entertainment stuff on that. We thought about getting into it's still up in the air, like actually getting into the actual gear scene and not the merch scene. There's a lot of routes, but right now, it's a merch company right now.
Yeah.
And, I think it's something that we're not really looking to make $1 million on. Obviously, that's not really a great business to get in if you're looking to make $1 million, but it's something that just, I think it's for snowmobilers and for outdoors people. I just want to grow the brand. I've probably done a pretty bad job of this because I've been so busy with other things, and that is growing it into something that we can all feel a part of, and we all think the same way, and we all, you know, are a little bit different than everyone else in the world. You know, we like to be outside, and that's what we think is important, and we love to explore and just feel alive. And I think that's, you know, eventually with having more time, we can have more merch and just have a way to support the channel and, you know, just verify if people are liking what we're putting out in a way, honestly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd say.
I kind of see Blackbird as like your passion project.
Yeah.
Like that's what you truly would love to be doing. And that's what like where you gear it towards. It just kind of falls on the back burner at times for you. But what's your vision like with your outdoor gear for Blackbird? Because we and you have talked about that a lot. And maybe you don't want to share that.
No,
like,
I mean, the biggest problem, okay, so you guys know the backstory of all of it, and I don't need to get into all of that, but it is hard to find. So when you go to a manufacturer with gear, not t-shirts, but gear that's good enough to actually wear out in the outdoors, what's hard is it's called an MOQ, so minimum order quantity. They're ridiculously high. So like, for example, like with a lot of the manufacturers, it's like if we did the smallest batch that they would produce for us, it would be like one of them was $780,000.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not into it. I'm not that far down the road yet.
Yeah,
to be
you're
able
not
to do
at that point. But also, I think like you have a vision of where you want to take the outdoor gear. If you can kind of elaborate on that, like me and you have talked a lot about how all the styles of snowmobile gear and outerwear is so bland.
Yeah,
and you like to, and the quality is not good. So like you want to see something that's good quality and you know more designer style is what we've kind of talked about.
Yeah, I just feel like, and I could be wrong, this is my opinion, but I feel like snowmobilers up until the last like 2-3 years really didn't care what they look like.
Yeah.
There was no social media. It was like, you're going to see your buds in the parking lot for 4 minutes. And then unless you're riding in a group with them, you're not going to see them all day. And there might be a picture that you see of somebody at work or whatever, but it wasn't like a big thing. It wasn't like motocross where it's like people are going to see you on the track and stuff like that. And so I think that at least me, I want to be in gear that looks good and it performs well. and you have a lot of gear out there that does not look good. You have a lot of gear that does not perform good. So I think that eventually I'd like to take it down that road, but it is just a very hard business to get into.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you're running into, you don't want to get something that's not quality. So then you're running into these totals that, okay, I got to order this certain amount to get this many. And it's like, well, it's a testing phase. Like, I don't have $7,000 just to dump into this. Like,
$780,000.
Yeah, $780,000. Sorry, $780,000.
Yeah, if it was $7,000, I'd be like, no, let's try this out.
I guess we'll try. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I would like to, you know, grow it out, and then, you know, being completely honest, and you guys know this, but most of the listeners don't. Like, all my energy right now is going on to the actual content.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going on like, how do we, you know, merch and making money and all that stuff. It's going surely on like, we want the best content. We want to put content out that you want to watch and we want to film. And so I think we're just, in my opinion, it's really early to be putting a ton of time into this when it's like there's more productive things that I could be putting time into.
We got to grow to that point.
Yeah, like if we grew to that someday, then you have a guy that does that and it all works out. But yeah, that's kind of my vision, is that, I guess.
Good.
So
good spot to be.
Yeah. I would like to make money at doing this somehow, but
if you figure it out, can you let me know?
Yeah, I'll let everyone know.
Call me when you get that.
Yeah. Okay, I think we only have that's most of them.
That's all. Okay.
There's some other ones that were statements.
Gotcha.
But
well, I think we should do at least one of those statements.
So this guy
let's hear
said, let's see what he said. I'll read it to you. He says, Polaris is better than Ski-Doo.
That is indeed a fact.
Yeah, it is.
No, he said it backwards. He got you. Shoot.
So that's the pod for this week. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate all the support, all the comments. If you have any questions, DM us on Instagram. We'll put it back into the Q&A for next week. Yep. I'll probably put something out on my story. We appreciate all the support. Go follow us on Instagram. Go book a trip with Powderbound. Go to Cook Bros link in bio. Click on Blackbird. Get yourself a hoodie for the winter. They're quality. They're warm. And until next time, let her eat.
See ya.